Welcome back to Brashenomics, everyone. Heather Moore filling in for Ben Brashen. And joining us now is Cameron Johnson, who's a 7-year, probably 8-year veteran now. I think I haven't updated my notes for a while.
Not quite. Getting close, though.
Getting close to 8 years of the barter industry, and was ITEX's National Employee of the Year recently, and is here again to talk with us about organized trade exchange and kind of what that means. And I think, for me, when you told Ben and I, explained the company, the first time I kind of got it, but when you sat us down and really explained it, it was an, light bulb on. So maybe let's kind of try to do that for everybody listening, because it's, as you mentioned before, kind of a more obscure way to bring in extra revenue and money for your business. So just kind of talk to us about ITEX.
Sure. Thanks, Heather. I think the confusing thing, I guess you would say, about ITEX or trade is not really what it is.
Yeah.
The what is pretty simple. It's the why that sometimes has people scratching their head for a moment.
Well, let's start with what.
So ITEX and any other group like ours, organized trade groups, basically have created one form or another of a digital currency. Mm-hmm. And that digital currency is used to engage in transactions without cash. It's that simple. People know it as trade or barter or swapping or any number of names.
Yeah.
But what it boils down to is you're doing business, you're making things happen, you're exchanging products, you're exchanging services, you're getting something that you want without paying U.S. dollars for it.
Right.
That's really what it boils down to. So that's the what. It's getting stuff without paying cash. And, most folks in their life have engaged in trade in one form or another, whether it was, when I was in 4th grade, we'd trade baseball cards
I was just going to say.
at school. Lunches. Maybe if you have siblings, you would trade chores. You're better at this and you like this better. I'm better in that I like that better. We'll swap our chores. Whatever it may be.
But most people think about that trade directly with the person.
Exactly. In most times in our lives, it occurs as a one-off interaction.
Yeah.
I have one thing, and this person has one thing. I meet that person, we swap them. What organized trade groups like ITEX do is they take that principle of getting what I want without paying money for it, by giving up my time, my service, by giving up something else I can afford to give up for this thing that I want. Organized trade groups, take that concept and they enable it to become flexible and versatile and a useful tool in everyday life rather than something you just stumble across every once in a while.
Yeah, or having to, you can only engage in trade until you can find somebody that wants to trade exactly what you want and exactly what they need.
Exactly. And there's a number of challenges that make there's a reason money was invented thousands of years ago, that direct trading for everything isn't feasible. Our world is too big. Our products are too complex. You got to find a person that has what you want and wants what you have, and the value has to be the same. And you have to make sure you get what they promise you're going to get. So there's a number of challenges that would take place if you had to execute it on your own every time.
So explain how you guys overcome that then.
Well, it's the digital currency. That's what we do. In addition to the digital currency, it's the network.
Yeah.
Those really the two pieces. So if you're a part of ITEX or a trade group like ITEX, you can get the things you need by offering up the things you have. So you're gaining that value of trade without paying for something, but the limitations are erased. Because you have the digital currency, the value always matches up. You're not going to worry about, I'm trading something away that's worth $2,000 and I'm only going to get $800 worth of services back in return. That's not the case.
Well, you'd mentioned, bartering as a name for trade before, and I think barter people might think of you go back and forth with a price, but that's not really the case with you guys.
Yeah, it's not the negotiation part of barter that we're talking about. It's actually swapping goods and services. Yeah. So when you talk to a business owner or a homeowner or almost anyone and you say, look, you need product X. Would you rather A, throw it on your credit card or write a check for it, or B, give up something you already have and can afford to give up? Well, 9 times out of 10, they say, well, I'll take option B. Why would I pay for something if I can swap my time, something that's laying around in my garage from a homeowner's perspective, or extra product on my shelves from a business owner's perspective, they're always going to say B because it makes economic sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're working
Don't
on
have to pull the cash right out of your wallet.
Don't have to pull the cash out of your wallet. You keep that in the bank, hopefully gaining interest, or in your home gaining equity. And also, oftentimes, the time or the product you're giving up for that is not producing anything for you anyway. Yeah. So you've got a non-producing asset turned into a producing asset.
So let's talk about that a little bit, and give a concrete example that it exemplifies kind of an example that exemplifies a trade relationship. I remember when you talked to us, you told us about a dentist, and that's when it really came together with me. A dentist with unused chair time.
That's correct. Unless you're a really great dentist with a really great marketing plan and maybe a long time in business, you're probably not booked every single appointment, every single day, every single week. So that empty chair is doing nothing for you. You're going to be in the office. Your dental hygienists are still going to be in the office.
Getting paid.
You're getting paid. You're taking appointments. You may as well fill that chair. Dentists need things like everybody else. They need advertising. They need maintenance on their building. They need, food. They need, home care. They need things the same as everybody else needs things. So what we do is we work with companies like dentists, and we say, look, let us fill your empty chairs with our patients. Mm-hmm. So we'll refer you business. And then you're paid in our case, ITEX dollars, that digital currency I was talking about.
So they have people come through the network into their chairs, and then after the services, the amount they would charge
in cash,
normally in cash, is given to their ITEX account.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's the same whether it's our trade group or there's regional ones all over the country. Ours happens to be national, but the principle is the same, and I'm a proponent of the principle in general, of course. But yeah, someone like that gets new customers they didn't have before. These dentists weren't necessarily selected by the patients. They called us and said, what dentists do you have?
Yeah.
And we give them the short list, and they're going to pick one. So it's business they didn't have before, revenue they didn't have before. And then if they buy, say, their local direct mailer advertisement and take the staff out to lunch and get their carpets cleaned, well, that's $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 that they've just paid out with their ITEX trade or their trade account, rather than putting that on his credit card, rather than taking it out of his checking account. And so you've solved problems there. You've filled an empty slot, you've kept cash in your pocket, and you've still obtained the services you needed.
Yeah.
And they're buying on their margins too. When you have a $1,000 service done at the dentist, it doesn't cost the dentist $1,000. Mm-hmm. So that $1,000 revenue they've earned and spent is coming in at a really great rate of return for them.
Yeah, and creating bigger bottom lines. And let's talk a couple just specifics before we go to break, though. Who's eligible to join, and how much do you recommend that people utilize organized trade services in their business? Sure.
Those are two excellent questions. I recommend, again, leveraging the power of trade for anybody. It's a smart deal. One of my favorite things about my industry is when our deals go well, which is most of the time I like to think, it's a win-win situation. Both parties really are happy, and that's not always the case with the cash transaction. But so I recommend everybody try it.
Let's say I can't just say I clean houses on your network and then get trade dollars.
It's easier to do for businesses.
And I don't clean houses, so that's completely fake anyway.
Well, it's easier to do for businesses. They have more product, they have more service, they have more excess capacity. So, but beyond that point, if you're a licensed official business and you have room to take on more customers, that's question number one. Do you have room for more customers?
Yeah.
If you don't, well, you're kind of operating at your capacity right now, and that's great. But if you have room for more customers, and you have expenses that you'd like to either reduce or new project you'd like to take on, if you can look at yourself and answer those two questions, then it's worth a look at least.
Yeah.
And as I said, there's ITEX all over the place, but there's a number of trade groups. There's very, very small, low-level groups that are almost like glorified networking events that people kind of help each other out, all the way scaled up to groups like ITEX, which is a national network with 25,000 businesses, and we do couple $100 million in goods and services traded every year. So there's the whole gamut of company size and different specialties. So like anything else, and I think like your theme of the day, sort of, I recommend people do their research and talk to some folks and see how they've liked it. But if you've got extra capacity, if you've got expenses you'd like to either pay down or take on, then I recommend it. But you did ask one good question at the very end there a moment ago about how much to do.
Yes.
One of the things I preach...
Because this is great. Let's do it all the time.
And we get that reaction a lot. A new customer will sign up and they're like, well, so you're just sending me customers? And we're like, yeah. And they say, keep sending and keep sending. Yeah. And because they just think it's the best. But we do caution them, and we say, well, we got to pause for a moment. 10% of your gross sales, maybe 15%. Maybe 5%. It depends exactly on your margins and the kind of business you're in. But you don't want to trade for a third of your business or half of your business or even probably a quarter. You're going to end up squeezing cash customers out. And the trade is only as good as what you're getting for it.
Right.
So you got to make sure you're using the trade effectively as well as just bringing in customers. So while I do highly recommend the concept and the idea and the practice for people to investigate and see if it's a good fit, you got it like anything else you're getting into. Do it with your eyes open, and just be conscious of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for giving us all this information, Cameron. It's great. And if you're curious about it, reach out to Cameron and his team, and they are honest and great at determining if trade's right for you and how you should utilize it. So you can just find them. Go to our website on Facebook, and we have a link to theirs. Actually, one of Cameron's clients is also a guest of our show, so he's going to tell us a little bit about his experience of ITEX and what his company does. When we come back, we're going to hear from Jason Morgan of iLocal Inc. That was Cameron Johnson. You're listening to Brassionomics. I'm Heather Moore, filling in for Ben Brashen.